A very good evening to everyone. Thank you everyone for joining the session. The session is about the importance of APs in highly selective university admissions, and joining us for this session, we have three expert speakers, highly experienced speakers from different domains. First of all, we have Mr. Abhinav Garg, who is an expert SAT and ACT tutor and also a mentor for APs. We call him India's test prep guru. Thank you so much, Abhinav sir, for joining this session. Also joining us, we have Vanna Murjani ma'am, again a high school counselor at Emerald Heights International School, and she has been there in the past many panels, and I'm sure all the attendees, like educators who have joined us, would know her from very long time. And finally, Revati Shivkumar ma'am, she is an independent career counselor based out of Mumbai, and also a leadership coach. And it's a pleasure to have all three of you here. And without any further ado, let me just go ahead and get going with the session. In this session, we're going to learn about what APs are, why are APs important, how can you as counselors guide the students on which APs to take, and you'll also learn about how to register for APs, how to start preparing, when the students should start preparing, and eventually how can they prepare. And then we'll finally hear advice from our experts on how you as high school counselors can guide the students. So with that, let me start off with Abhinav sir. Abhinav sir, please help us understand what are APs, what are advanced placements, and with that also help us understand what are some of the most popular APs that you've seen high school students take.
Okay, thanks Devesh, thanks for the kind words to begin with. So advanced placements, the exams, college level exams, basically conducted by the College Board, which is the same body or the same company that conducts gives the SAT as well. Now in the US, the advanced placement exams, they're kind of curricular exams for school students. So they are kind of, equivalent of what we have the honors courses here in India. So the top 15 to 20% of the class in each high school would be picked up by their respective tutors, and they'll be recommended to take the AP exams instead of the regular school curriculum exams. So it's a matter of honor to be picked up to prepare for an AP in the US. But what you have in the US is AP courses, which means when a student who aspires to take an AP exam would be signed up with a tutor at school, this tutor is going to guide him or her through the entire 8 or 9 months period. And at the end, the exam which is conducted is not a school exam. It is conducted by the College Board, which is an advanced placement exam. APs are offered in some 37, 38 different areas, if I'm not mistaken. I may be off the count by 1 or 2, which includes languages, sciences. They're divided into 7 subtopics, and a lot of information available on the AP student website. And so I'll not go into absolute details. They serve, APs, I've always maintained, they're kind of complicated exams, especially when you're taking them outside of the US. It's not like the simple SAT or the ACT, where you just take these exams to serve a specific purpose, which is getting into a college, right? So if you look at the published reason for taking the APs on the College Board website, it would say it can give you college credits, right? So college credits, I think we're all very well versed with. But the vast variety of students, the vast majority of students would not take them for college credits. So there are other hidden agenda there. Somebody is trying to build a more competitive academic profile, right? Someone is trying to complete the diversity on your academic profile. Or some people are just trying to show an early interest. So you've seen kids as young as grade 9 taking them. So in India, of course, there's only one school that offers AP courses, which is the Cathedral and John Connon School at Mumbai. So if you're not a part of that school, you can still go and take the AP exams, but you have to prepare on your own, or you have to find an AP tutor outside. Yes, but AP exams are fairly rigorous. They're college level exams. They're not school level exams. So what are the most popular exams, AP exams here? I'll tell you, the most popular AP exam in India without doubt is AP Calculus BC. Whether that is correct or not, I'm not going to comment on that as of now. But this is what most kids would come asking for, AP Calculus BC. Psychology is a very, very popular AP. So is statistics, microeconomics, physics. These are, I would say, the 5 most in-demand APs as such. This is what students come asking you for courses for these areas. Right or wrong? Let's talk about that later in the show.
Super, fantastic. Yeah, that brings me to my next question. Let me first ask Revathi ma'am. Revathi ma'am, why are APs important, and how do they add value to a student's profile when they're applying to colleges?
It's like there are so many layers to this. APs show rigor, okay, beyond as an academic rigor, beyond what they are taught in school. APs, where they get college credit. Now, it's important to remember that college credit is not automatic. One, it depends on the kind of grades they get, and even with a 4 or a 5, which is a max you can get, not all universities give college credit, okay? But most of them do at certain levels. And there are students who even can finish a term early because they have enough credits going into the system with. I think it also gives them a glimpse of a college level preparatory work and prepares them somewhat and sets them up for college, okay? Why is it important? Now, students of the IB board anyway get college credit from the HL subjects at a certain level of performance. But for CBSE, ICSE and other Indian boards, it's good to have APs to be that little bridge. But what has happened now is with the SAT subject test going away, even IB students are now looking at APs as a way to showcase rigor. Okay, they want to go beyond the subjects. And there are so many ways, you know, and because there are 38 different AP courses, a student can pick and choose, and the options are so many. So I think, I mean, there's much more that one could talk on it, but I think I'll stop there for now.
Superb, superb. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. And of course, you know, when we talk with the admission officers, all of them do share back that yes, APs offer college credits in a number of cases. So I think that's really a great way to earn credit and graduate early. Fantastic. Let me move on to Vandana ma'am. What's your take on it? Why should students consider APs? How do they add value to a student's profile?
Thank you, Devesh, for this question. And I would second what Revathi right now said and pointed out that these are very rigorous courses. And IB students do have some edge, but when it comes to CBSE students, they need some additional rigor on their applications and also learning. So the very first thing, because to be very honest, our students are little, you know, more concerned about how do I stand out on my application. So this is one thing that I start talking about so that the students at least are lured towards it. They start looking into it. So this is one thing that they stand out on their college applications. These are the courses which are reflected either on their transcripts or even on their applications, which actually demonstrates that the student has moved out of a constrained prescribed curriculum at school and has challenged himself or herself academically by taking these college level courses by being there in the high school, alongside regular studies, alongside many other activities, and that too, you know, demonstrate that they are capable of taking academic pressure effortlessly. So this is one thing which the students need to understand, that it actually adds to their application also, transcripts also. This is one benefit apart from what Revathi and Abhinav have pointed out. Second is that it demonstrates their collegiate preparedness. It is also perceived, you know, like AP courses taken by the students the students have gained that baseline foundation of the concepts, which will be helpful for them when they actually go and join the university. So this is one indication that the student has taken AP, and more likely the child is going to thrive with the academic rigor of the college year. Then credits and skipping introductory courses are definitely what Revati has pointed out. So I think I would not like to touch base on them. But another important trait which I have noticed in my tenure is that through APs, the students have to dig deeper into the subjects, whatever they have chosen. And these are the digging experiences which bring out their creativity, problem solving skills, critical thinking skills. These are some very important skills which a high school students need, and these are highly valued by the universities also. So the applications reflecting APs are clear-cut indications to the university readers also, application readers, that these are some students who are academically prepared to take those challenging courses here in campus. And besides that, like, research has also shown that the students who receive a score of 3 or higher on APs, they get academic success in the colleges. So I think these are some benefits which the students should be told about. Generally, the students themselves don't dig into it, don't do much research about it. They just go into, either the influence by the peers or just the superficial information that is available to them. But once we tell them how to dig, how they're going to be benefited out of it, students tend to, take more interest in these. And yeah, Revati and Abhinav have really clearly pointed out that now College Board doesn't offer subject test. So this is one important thing on their application, which would actually demonstrate their subject intellect also. Apart from the entire profile and other things, the subject intellect. So these are some great benefits which I talk to my students on a regular basis.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thanks for those insights. And for all those who are joining us a little late, we just discussed about what APs are, what are the most popular APs that Indian students take. And right now we were just talking about how do APs add value to a student's profile when they're applying to college. And now as we move forward, my next question is to you, Abhinav sir. If you could help us understand, how do you guide students on which AP to take?
So the question, I guess. So you see, as I talked earlier, that the APs are taken for a multitude of reasons. There's not a single reason in pursuing an AP. So what APs to take, it has to follow why do you want to take an AP. If you're taking credits for college credits, you obviously have to take APs in the subjects that you plan to study at college, right? Please also know that, for this purpose, the best time to take an AP would not be at the end of grade 11, would be at the end of grade 12, where taking that AP would be extremely easy. For example, I'm flooded with requests, for an AP Calculus BC for an 11th grader. If an 11th grader wants to take AP Calculus BC for the purpose of gaining college credits, it's suicidal to take it in grade 11. He'll end up, doing 3 times as much work as what he'll need if he chooses to take this AP at the end of grade 12, and it is going to get him the same credit nonetheless, right? But credits is not in most cases the reason why kids choose to do the APs. If they want to build a competitive, academic profile. So my take always here is you should never do APs in subjects that you're studying at school, irrespective of what curriculum that you choose to study in. You're doing IB, ISC, CBSE, A-levels, whatever. Never do APs in what you are studying at school. This is what is advised. Oh, for example, somebody with the physics, chemistry, math, and an AP in physics and calculus BC, vis-a-vis someone with the physics, chemistry, math, and an AP in statistics and psychology. The one with the statistics and psychology AP shows far more diversity. It shows far more breadth on your academic profile. Also, the statement which I'm making when I take a physics at school and a physics as an AP, is that I am studying physics at school already. I plan to spend another 50, 60, 70 hours of my time pursuing an AP. If I were to do that, I would as well want to gain something or add something to my existing knowledge and skills. So I would always choose. Also, as the US admission officers look at it, of course, my consular friends would be able to guide us much better. I think diversity is a valued proposition. So AP is also, a complete something that completes their academic profiles. If I'm doing a physics, chemistry, math at my school, I should pick up a couple of APs in humanities, maybe a psychology, maybe a human geography, maybe a comparative government politics. If I'm doing humanities, then doing science APs may not be that simple for me. So I should then pick up those APs which are subtle sciences, which I'll still be able to manage. A computer science A, for example, irrespective of what background you come from, you'll be able to crack that AP. An environmental science, which is not science yet, it is science. So, and then again, I'm seeing a lot of interest from the younger kids now, the younger lot, to pursue the AP. So I find a lot of 9th graders, 10th graders, even 8th graders, they're to be told to wait for a year before they take the AP. And I think taking an AP in grade 9 is so much better an idea than spending them time towards preparing for the PSAT, which is not going to get you anywhere. So earlier APs, you look at the ones which are easily doable, easiest APs to do. You do a psychology, you do a microeconomics, you do an environmental science, a computer science A, a human geography. These, in my opinion, are easier APs, which even 9th graders routinely do, and then they'll get very good grades over there. The sciences will have to be, held back until later. So again, it can only be advised on a case-to-case basis. There is nothing which is one size fits all. But yes, in general, my advice to students is that if you do want to spend time preparing for an AP, pick up those APs that will add to your overall academic profile, and then not just a repetition of what you're doing at school. Now, this may not be as simple. For someone who's studying physics at school, doing a physics AP would take far less effort than doing a psychology AP. So probably the trade-off here is between what is desirable and what is feasible, and you have to walk a tightrope.
Wonderful. And I mean, it's so important to understand that so much depends on what you're studying at school, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so go on. You're adding something. Yes. Go on, sir. Go on, Abhinav, sir.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to understand from Abhinav here. Abhinav, that's a very striking point that you brought on the surface, that the students studying sciences should rather consider humanities subjects and all. So what if a student wants to dig deeper into that particular subject? Like he's studying physics, but he wants to take it at an advanced level. He really wants to dig into it. So would you suggest in that case, or would you still?
Maybe, but I would not necessarily agree to the fact that AP would make them dig deeper than what CBSE would make them. The CBSE curricula, even, if you're doing, or let's say if you're doing a IB HL AA math, an IB HL AA math and a calculus BC is 80% overlap. Same, CBSE is an extremely rigorous curriculum. A CBSE math and a calculus BC, barring a CBSE math and a calculus AB would be 100% overlap. Just that the way the questions are framed is slightly different. So what I'm trying to show there is I can dance on my wicket, I can dance on your wicket. But when the same student, instead of taking a calculus AP, goes on to take a statistics AP, I think I'm killing two birds with the same shot. So when I can dance on your wicket on a different subject, I can certainly dance on your wicket on my subject. So I think I make a stronger statement. Now it'll come at a higher cost to the student in terms of time investment. That is the caveat.
Thank you for the clarity. That's a wonderful answer, Abhinav. Over to you, Devesh.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Abhinav sir, for sharing all that wonderful insights. Moving on to you, Revati ma'am, what's your take? How do you do it with your students when it comes to guiding them on which AP to take and when to take it?
You're muted, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Most kids are from class 10 onwards. If they are with me in 9th, then 1 or 2 softer APs at the end of 9th, like what Abhinav was saying. After 10th, I see if they can do a couple, after 11th, a couple. Which APs to take depends entirely on the student's profile and what they are studying already. If a child is very keen to study computer science, but his school doesn't, let's say he's in an IB school, which doesn't offer computer science, or for any reason he's not taken it, he's taken the other sciences, computer science is a great fit. A student who's already taken computer science, okay, wants to approach something interdisciplinary, okay, statistics and psychology is a great fit. I recommend statistics and psychology to almost everybody because Abhinav, we are in sync, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think they lend themselves to a variety of disciplines. You layer that on top of just about any subject and you're getting into data sciences. And I don't see why my humanities children should limit themselves in any way. Okay. Students who are doing languages and who want to showcase greater rigor could always look at a language paper. But somehow I've never had students coming in for all these foreign languages. It's mostly the science kids coming in, and then they're taking psychology or they're taking microeconomics. And I have humanities kids coming in, taking again, they may not have psychology. So if they have only economics, they do take a psychology. They are willing to explore statistics. They definitely run away from calculus and I let them be. It's something, I like that little eclectic edge to the resume, not a sameness. So most of my kids who come to me, even if they don't sign up with me in the initial call, I give them Abhinav's number and say, go speak to him. Because I think in terms of the approach, the thought process, it's very, very similar. A bland resume will not stand out. Now, we do not want the child to be a master of all. We don't expect the child to be confused. But if the child has a 70% resume building around, say, computer sciences, okay, academically, the balance 30% should have an interesting adjacent subjects, or it can even be a completely different subject. If the child is a quizzer or a manner, might love to take world history. You know, there are different ways in which you can kind of tie the resume together in a way that it makes the profile much more interesting. So it's
yeah, please go ahead. Please,
so it's entirely dependent on this. The one challenge that I face, Abhinav, this is something I would love for you to weigh in, is now, like I said, IB kids even in India are looking at APs, right? Because it's become like something like a substitute for a SAT subject test. But this has not caught on really in other Asian countries. For example, I have 3-4 kids in Malaysia and IB schools. There's a lot of pushback because the school does not encourage APs at all. But these are children who are aspiring to top colleges. And when I tell them about the reasons for APs, somehow the larger system is not has not caught up with what we say. So that is something I'd love to get some inputs on from the rest of you as to how to approach it.
It'll take some time, in my opinion, for the new normal to be established. It'll take some time. Well, also I had something to add for the statistics AP. There's a completely different reason why I so strongly push statistics to students. Even the strongest of math curriculum, including the math AAHL or the A level, which further math, which have a very strong dose of statistics in them. None of them is going to teach them hypothesis testing. And the way the American courses are built, they're all research driven, they're all research based. So even if they teach you something, as theoretical as philosophy, trust me, there's going to be a huge component of researches in there. So someone who has done a statistics AP would find himself or herself at complete ease with this completely new, academic environments that they find themselves into when they're at college. So that's one reason statistics is something people should look at very, very seriously.
Super. And statistics usually, sir, what grade level do you think they should be taking that exam.
Ideally, grade 11, not earlier than grade 10. A ninth grader, I mean, it's too early to push them to statistics. Grade
Okay.
10, grade 11, those who are good with their math can do it in grade 10. And grade 11, practically everyone.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you for that advice. And let's move on now. We are I think, running short of time, but
Okay.
yes, I do have 4 or 5 questions remaining.
Yeah.
So, Abhinav sir, how can students register for the APs?
Oh, again, it's a little complicated. I think Vandana ma'am would be the best to guide on this because she herself, is doing
Okay.
heading an AP center, that offers AP courses. I think I would invite her to, give it from the horse's mouth, as they say.
All right, Vandana ma'am.
Thank you, Abhinav, and thank you, Devesh. So registering for APs in India, the students should first look at the nearest location that they would like to take the AP. So they should visit AP India page. So when they visit AP India page, all the locations offering APs in their schools would be visible on AP India page, and then the students, whichever location is preferred, they can tap on that and they can visit the page. When they visit the page, when they click on that tab directly takes them to, say the student wants to register at my school, Emerald Heights. It will take them to the web page of Emerald Heights, the first page which will show each and every detail about APs, subjects offered, fee, timetable, everything. And then towards the end of the web page is one registration policy, which again the students need to click, and which takes them to the student registration form. Now this form has each and everything that the students need, including AP coordinator's number, join codes for each subject. So each subject offered by College Board has a unique code, joining code for that particular subject, which is mentioned on that page, registration page, and not the AP web page. So when they once decide that this is the subject I want to, they should copy down that code in their notebook, and then they can go to that link where they have to register. The payment policy is different for different centers. The registration fee can be different for different centers because each school is different. So there may be some logistical requirements additionally required by any particular center. So they may charge 1,000 or 500 rupees more than someone who is in the middle of the city who might not require those additional logistical requirements. So this is how the students need to understand. The payment policy is different for different centers, which is clearly mentioned in the form of each center. Even the refund policies are mentioned on that page. Students should be clearly told to read both the pages first, understand what the information is given. After that, if they have any doubts, they should approach the AP coordinator of that particular center. The students should also be told to be mindful about the timings which are mentioned on the form, to contact the AP coordinators, because we are counselors also. So we might be busy, but each coordinator is asked to mention the specific timings. So students need to be mindful about those things also. So once the students decide, they can register online through My AP. Each student has a College Board account, and on that College Board account, they can go to My AP and they can register, where they will be asked for location and also the join code of the subjects. Once they use that, the information comes to me at the center, and I can see the name of the student and the subject registered. Now, if the student has registered online and not paid to the center, the registration remains incomplete. And similarly, vice versa, if the student has paid to the center but not registered online, the registration still remains incomplete. It's a two-way process. The students should be told about it. So the best way is first tell them to read all the information and contact the AP center so that they can take the joining codes and everything, and then they can get going. sometimes, like today, I had one query that I have registered at XYZ school, but I want to change my center. I have decided that I will be in Indore during those dates. I want to shift the center. In that case, it's not as easy as the students think. Now students will have to approach the previous center that I have registered. Please drop me off from that system so that I'm eligible to register at the center where I wish to take. If the student has paid at that center, then refund will be dependent on the policy set by the school. If the student has not paid but wants to drop off, then it would be easier for the previous coordinator to drop the student off. And then the student can apply to any other center he wishes to. So this is a two-way process, and this is how the students can register.
Just one
Yes,
question I
yes.
have, ma'am.
Sure.
So I got this query from a student a little while ago. APs are done in two administrations, the regular one and the late one. So I'm going to be having my school exams in May this year. I do not know when. So I register for regular testing right now. And later, they clash with my exams. Would I be permitted to change to the late testing?
Let us understand this. First, you have to understand which standard is the student. If the student is in 10th or 12th, then this is by CBSE.
Yeah.
Which is going to be, for everyone, in such a case, College Board is very flexible. And last year also the same thing happened when the CBSE exams kept, lingering on. So there were several windows announced.
Yeah.
Window 1, window 2, and the students
Yeah.
had the flexibility to shift the windows because of the valid reason. But if the student is in 11th grade, internal exam, that might be a little problem for the kid. So he should first find out what is the valid reason. Valid reason allows the student to shift from regular to late. But if there is no valid reason, then the shifting might be possible, but there is some additional fee posed by College Board.
Whom does he apply to? He gets in touch with College Board, or he gets in touch with the AP coordinator at the center?
During the shifting?
Yeah.
Coordinator, AP coordinator.
Coordinator, they can do. All right. Thank you.
I have one question
Yes,
extending from whatever Abhinav asked, Vandana.
Sure.
Can the student anticipating school exams in the month of May straight away register for the late exams?
Yes, they can do.
They can, right?
Yeah.
So that would be playing safe.
Yeah, that is playing safe, but the students should also be mindful that not all the centers are open for both the windows. So they should check with the respective center also. Like we at Emerald Heights do not offer late testing, that window. So similarly, the other schools might be, but the students can directly register for late window.
Wonderful. Vandana, do also tell us, since there are all educators in the audience, tell us about the responsibilities of an AP coordinator. What all are the responsibilities that come with this role for you?
Okay, so I think quite a much we have covered. So I will again cover it in short. So like in India, we have around 25 to 30 approved centers, AP centers, which are approved by College Board, and they are in different states and locations. So each center appoints an AP coordinator, and this coordinator acts like a point of contact or communication between the test takers and the center, because the center has different set of rules, and these test takers might be outside my schools also. So the AP coordinator's primary role is to assist in test registrations, handle their queries regarding registrations, handle their queries and assist in payment procedure. Issuing of the admission tickets happen from AP coordinator's side, manage their exam ordering, and then also approving or disapproving the students' participation, because there are certain rules, like a student cannot take part in, cannot take AB, calculus AB and BC in the same year. So there are certain exemptions to it. So looking at those, the AP coordinator has to either approve or disapprove the students' participation. Then administer exams at the center. We need to ensure that the students have pleasant examination experience, making the process a little hassle-free. I think that's it. For scoring, the students get the scores on their My-AP.
Okay, perfect, fantastic. Let me move on to my next question. Abhinav sir, it's about exam prep, AP prep. When should they start? How long does it take to prepare for the exams? Things like that. Yes.
The typical student effort required for an AP, for the easier ones like a psychology or a human geography, I would say would be about 50 to 60 hours. For something like a calculus, it could be in excess of 100 hours, including the test practice, whatever they require. But in my opinion, they should spread it out over the largest tenure of time. Treat them more like school subjects that they're studying, rather than compressing them to the last month or two. You should always start early and study for them on a week-on-week basis. So I think around this time is an excellent time to start. September, October is when you start. So use the first 3-4 months to master the concepts and subject yourselves to some 7-8 practice papers in the last 2 months. Go and take the test.
That's wonderful. All right. So now that brings me to my final question to both the counselors here. What would be your advice to the other fellow counselors who are there in the audience as they guide students for APs? And I think Abhinav sir, for that you also do chip in. Yes. So let's start with Revati ma'am. Advice to other fellow counselors.
Yeah, it is to understand where the student is coming from. If they have come saying APs, the first question is to ask why the AP, the purpose, because the guidance can also be predicated on that. Many times students are not aware of it. So then you can base the conversations we had and your own research online, etc. You can see what would fit that student best, what his aspirations are, what subject he's planning to take, what is the full profile, what is the story he wants to tell, where his strengths and interests are, and then weave in the APs. And depending on when the student has come to you, you can plan it over 2-3 years. But if they have come to you towards the end of the admission cycle or in class 11, you will have a tighter time frame to kind of plan the whole thing. But APs are picking up, I think, exponentially now. So as counselors, we really need to be on track and also know good resources where the students can get support, because it's not just the joy of doing APs, they have to score well. And if they score a 2, for example, as a counselor, I would urge that you ask them to get the scores cancelled.
Correct.
Okay, a 3 is okay, but you want them to do at least a 4 or a 5. And I know that's a certain AP tutoring place and mentor who's sitting here on the panel with us gets booked well in advance. So I tell my kids who come to me in class 9 and 10 itself, I tell them, the first thing I do is send a number and say, just sign up and plan, because there's somebody who can mentor you through the process. I know the courses I want you to do, but there's somebody who's doing this with hundreds of kids. So I think as counselors, we should know where there is expertise, and we should draw on that expertise so that we support and serve our students the best way possible. I think that's very important.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Revati ma'am. Vandana ma'am, over to you.
The same question. So,
Yes.
at the initial stage, when the students are just, very raw and not very thorough with what exactly the APs are, I would advise the counselors to advise the students to, tell the students to watch out these videos. These are very interesting videos, AP daily videos. These are very short, easily searchable, and they are created by the teachers across the country to give them a feel of what the subject looks like, what is the difficulty level of the AP subject and all. So once they get the feel, they gain a little confidence that it is actually doable or not doable for them. And accordingly, they take a call. Second important thing that I would really want the counselors, and I also try doing that in my school, is that if we see any student of high caliber, students of high caliber, like they are really good at Olympiads, they ace sciences, maths, or like anything, who can handle academic rigor seamlessly, I think they should also be informed about the various honors titles given by College Board, like AP Scholar, like AP Scholars with Honor, or AP Scholars with Distinction. So once the students get to know about these titles, I think these excite them also and add to their enthusiasm of taking the APs. So like AP Scholar is a title which is students are given by College Board if they score a 3 or better on 3 or more AP exams throughout the high school years. AP Scholar with Honor is somewhat like getting a score of 3 or better on 4 or more AP exams and an average of 3.25 on each AP exam. And another is AP Scholar with Distinction. So these are the distinction titles given by College Board to the students who, get a score of 3 or better on 5 or more AP exams and an average of 3.5 on all the AP stated. So now, so these are actually wonderful titles and they directly take the place of AP Honor, the honors section, which is a reputation for the student and a good showcasing element on the application also. So I think students should know about these win-win things also. I would suggest them to, go a little deeper first on themselves, by themselves, and then start initiating this conversation with the students. And I would also like to bring out the fact that the AP registrations are open right now in India. This is the regular standard window for registration, which is open, which is around 12,000 to 14,000 per subject at the moment. The registration is likely to close by November 5 to November 15 because November 15 is the hard deadline for the coordinators to order the tests. So before that, let us, ignite that spark, talk to the kids about the APs and also tell them about taking a decision a little earlier so that they can be saving some money by registering in the regular window rather than registering in the late testing window, which is 4,000 per subject additional cost. So the costs, our money saved is money earned also. Yes. So these are certain things which I would really want the counselors to know about AP, their registration.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Vandana ma'am, for that wonderful advice. Finally, moving on to you, Abhinav sir, what's your final advice?
I completely agree with Revati ma'am when she says that the demand for APs is taking off exponentially. For us this year, I think the greatest challenge is how to keep up with that demand and how to create the kind of supply that you need to serve all these students. But the subject is moving out. It's completely blasted for the APs. Second, I do agree with Vandana ma'am when she says that you should expose your super achievers to this. Okay, so these are not courses which are meant for, as counselors, you all know where your students stand. So for the kids who are going to be struggling with their school curricula, please do not advise the APs. They're meant for people who are overachievers, super achievers. And then, it'll take them some time to sink into the idea. So the greater the awareness you create about these courses, the better it is. And there are multiple ways to create the awareness. One, of course, is the AP Daily video, which is a very useful resource. The second, at Next Genius, we're going to come up with a whole series of presentations on AP starting next month. You can always guide your students for that. So they're going to be 2 days, 3 days. We don't talk about every single AP. So there's going to be a 30-40 minute presentation on every single AP and a longer session about the APs in general. So we plan to cover about 15, 16 of the 38 APs, the ones which are more relevant to the Indian students. And then, of course, at Saturn Paper, we keep on doing a routine 90-minute AP presentation, which is all about APs very, very regularly. It happens almost twice a month. So again, you have to probably, expose them early to the APs. 9th grade kids, that's where, I see a lot of traction these days. And it's a fantastic idea to take an AP in grade 9. So I think we'll have to set the bus going. It'll take them some time before they actually make up their mind to go take an AP. And that's what I think counselors can do. Maybe expose them to this idea early, introduce them to this idea early, tell them to do a little of surfing. I think the College Board AP student website has a lot of stuff. I think that's for an exam. I've not seen a website more informative than the AP student website. It has everything that they'll need to begin with.
Wonderful.
There are a couple of questions. One I answered writing, which I will read out so you can add to it, both of you. Somebody had asked, if the student gives AP after grade 12 exam, how do they showcase it to the applications which are submitted during grade 12? Now, I have a couple of CBSE students who have come to me after grade 11 and very bright kids, and they are going to take a couple of APs end of grade 12, and they are going to show it in the additional information section of the Common App as something that they propose to do. It is not that they have a tangible score to share, which would have been an ideal thing, but even this intent, and I would expect and I would insist that they follow through. It is not something they just say. It is something that they would definitely do. Okay, and I see Abhinav has answered the next question.
I've answered the easier APs. Although I would want to add to what Revati ma'am just said. Americans are different, they trust you.
Yes.
They trust you. They take you on the face. For example, I think it's one of the rare admission systems in the world where they'll admit you without taking a look at your grade 12 final scores. They say, if you've been doing it through, then we are convinced you have these predictives and we're convinced that you'll be able to do it. It's same for the APs. If I've been doing APs starting grade 9, I did 1 in 9, 2 in 10, 2 in 11. And I tell them that I plan to do these 2 at the end of my grade 12, they'll buy you for it. But if I'm doing it for the first time, probably it may not sound as convincing.
Yeah, it won't. That's what, in fact, what I've said is tie it into your aspiration in a couple of bullet points. So it is not something gimmicky, because one of my kids wants to do data science. He wants to actually apply only for data science. He's doing computer science as part of a CBSE curriculum, but he also loves psychology genuinely and economics. So he's looking at statistics, psychology and microeconomics. And his love for these subjects are also coming out in different aspects of the application. So this will tie in. So it cannot be something that just pops out of nowhere and looks like a gimmick. So that is something we need to, as counselors, tie in with the rest of the story.
Superb. Thank you so much, Revati ma'am, Abhinav sir, and Vandana ma'am, for that wonderful advice. I would request all of you if you could put down your email ID in the chat box or any contact information so that the counselors who are here can connect with you. And while you are doing that, let me also announce a very interesting fair that is coming up. Abhinav sir just mentioned about it. We are doing the AP fair in the mid of November 19th and 20th. And in this AP fair, so today's session was specifically for the counselors, but the AP fair is for the students, and of course the counselors can also join. But this fair is going to be where you're going to learn about all the APs specifically. So it will be a more specific session where you can have your students who are interested in a special or a specific subject like calculus AB, calculus BC, or microeconomics, or any subject like that. They can join that fair and learn about that particular subject. It will give them fantastic insights about preparing for APs, and also learn about which AP should they consider or which AP should they not consider at the moment. And to all the counselors here, thank you so much for joining. And this session is recorded. If you missed out a part of it, please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll also post it on YouTube. And you can see the email IDs of our panelists in the chat box. Don't hesitate in reaching out to them. I'm sorry we could not take lots of questions, but I'm sure whenever you do reach out to them, they'll be happy to help you and answer all your queries. And I promise that it will be a 45-minute session, so we are almost on time. It's always okay to go a little bit over time. So thank you so much.
It's been a wonderful session, Devesh. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Even I enjoyed it. Talking to two people who are really deep into the field gave me a lot of insights too. Thank you, Devesh, for organizing it, and my fellow panelists and all the people who attended today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And nice meeting you, Revati and Abhinav. And let's stay connected. And thank you, counselors. Good luck. Let me know if you face any issues regarding registrations or anything I can help you with. I'm always available.
Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.